St. Peter's Square was full. It was not just full in numbers, but full in spirit, full in emotion, full in a kind of powerful peace that wrapped everyone present in something they could not see, but deeply felt. It had always been one of the grandest and most sacred places in the world, with its mighty colonnades stretching out like open arms. But today, it seemed more alive than ever before. People had traveled from every corner of the globe to be there. Some came from nearby cities in Italy. Others came from far across oceans and deserts. Some walked, others flew. But all came for the same reason, to witness something sacred, something historic, something that only happens once in a generation. Today, Pope Leo XIV would give his first blessing. Families stood together, friends held hands. Strangers smiled at one another like old companions. There was a shared energy in the air, like everyone's hearts were beating in the same rhythm. The square was covered with flags from dozens of countries, waving, flowing, dancing in the wind like a painting in motion. Each flag carried a story, a journey, a hope. Some people wore traditional clothes from their homeland, and others came in simple shirts and jeans. It didn't matter how they looked, it only mattered why they were there. Everyone was waiting for the same thing. Everyone hoped to see the new shepherd of the church. Pope Leo XIV, who had just been elected, was about to step onto the balcony and bless the world. When he finally appeared, silence swept over the crowd like a soft wind. The noise stopped. Even the clicking of cameras paused. There he stood, simple, still, gentle. His white cassock seemed to shine under the sun like a symbol of purity. His hands were raised, not in power, but in welcome. His eyes moved slowly across the crowd. He was looking not just at faces, but into souls. His expression was warm, almost like a father seeing his children. This was not a man of pride or ambition. This was a man of humility, carrying the weight of one of the oldest and most powerful spiritual roles on earth. But in his smile there was no fear, only love. He began to speak. His voice wasn't loud or commanding. It didn't need to be. It was calm, full of purpose. And though the words came in Italian, it felt like everyone could understand. His first words were a greeting of peace, not just peace as the absence of war, but a deeper peace, the kind that calms the heart, the kind that helps you breathe after long sorrow, the kind that gives you courage to face tomorrow. "Peace be with you all," he said. And the moment he said it, something changed. Tears began to flow in the eyes of many. Some wiped them quickly, others let them fall freely. These were not tears of sadness, but of relief, of hope, of feeling, something bigger than themselves. Pope Leo spoke of unity. He reminded the crowd and the world watching from televisions, phones, and screens that though we come from different places, we are one family, one human family under one God. He said the church must not only open its doors to the faithful, but must walk out of those doors to reach the forgotten. He spoke of love that does not judge, but heals. Love that does not divide, but builds bridges. He urged everyone to be people of compassion, not just on Sundays or during Mass, but every day, in every place. And then he spoke of humility. He said this was not a time for pride. It was not a time for leaders to sit above others. It was a time for leaders to kneel, to listen, to serve. His words were simple, but they shook the hearts of many. For in today's world, full of noise and division, here was a man calling not for more power, but for more kindness. As he spoke, the crowd reacted with silent reverence. Many knelt, others raised their hands, some simply stood in awe. The square felt like holy ground, and around the world, people joined in spirit. In the Philippines, churches were filled with faithful followers, watching every moment. In Africa, communities gathered to sing and pray in celebration. In Latin America, from large cities to remote villages, families sat together, holding candles and rosaries. In Asia, lanterns were released into the sky, each one carrying a silent prayer. And in Europe and North America, people lit candles by their windows, symbolizing their unity with this sacred moment. This was not just another event. This was a new beginning, a new era for the Catholic Church. For too long, people had been divided by borders, by beliefs, by fear. But Pope Leo's first blessing was not about fear. It was about faith, a faith that could heal, a faith that could unite, a faith that, even in the darkest times, gives light. He didn't speak for long, but every word felt like a seed planted in the heart. He asked people to remember the poor, to stand beside the suffering, to be gentle with one another. He reminded everyone that true power lies in love, not in control. And then he prayed. The prayer was soft but strong. It asked God to bless not only Catholics but all people, no matter their faith, their background, or their language. It was a prayer for the entire world. As he lifted his hand for the final blessing, the sun broke through the clouds. A golden light fell on the square. It felt like heaven itself had joined in the moment. The bells of St. Peter's Basilica began to ring, and the crowd exploded with joy. Cheers, tears, laughter, clapping, all mixed together. People hugged, people cried, people sang. It was like every heart had been lit with a fire of hope. But even after the moment passed, its echo remained. Social media platforms filled with messages of thanks, videos of the blessing, and emotional reactions from people across the globe. Religious scholars praised the Pope's humility and deep sense of mission. They compared his message to those of historic figures like Pope John XXIII and Pope Paul VI. They said it was not just a blessing but a vision, a roadmap for the future of the Church. In cities like Manila, Mumbai, Lagos, Rio de Janeiro, and New York, people held prayer vigils. Streets were filled with peaceful marches. Children wrote letters to the Pope, thanking him for reminding the world to care. Elderly people said they hadn't felt this kind of faith in decades, and the youth, often distant from religious institutions, said they felt seen, heard, welcomed. His words reached not just the faithful, but those who had walked away from faith, those who were unsure, those who were searching, because in Pope Leo's blessing there was no demand to be perfect. There was only an invitation to love. And love, as everyone felt that day, is something that unites us all. The beauty of the moment continued to spread. In small villages across Africa, people held hands and sang in their native languages, blending ancient rhythms with new joy. In Japanese temples, candles were lit as a gesture of peace. In India, people of different religions came together in community centers, sharing meals and prayers for unity. And in the quiet corners of Europe, inside chapels and cathedrals, people sat in silence, just to feel the presence of something holy. The impact of Pope Leo's blessing was not measured in applause, but in hearts. It was not about the grandeur of the Vatican or the historical significance. It was about what people felt deep inside. A call to become better, a call to help others, a call to find peace not in noise, but in silence, not in judgment, but in mercy, not in holding on, but in letting go. And the Pope himself, after the blessing, he stepped back away from the spotlight. He did not bask in the praise, he prayed, alone, quietly, because for him it was not about being seen, it was about serving. Those close to him later shared that he wept quietly after the blessing, not from sadness, but from the weight of love he felt from the people, from the weight of responsibility, from the overwhelming awareness that his life now belonged to the world. Pope Leo XIV's background as a Jesuit was clear in every word and action. Jesuits are known for their dedication to education, justice, and compassion. His message reflected these values deeply. He did not speak of glory or victory. He spoke of duty, of mission, of love that moves with humility. And Jesuit communities around the world felt great pride, not in a worldly way, but in a spiritual one. They saw one of their own bringing light to the world stage. Even days after the blessing, the effects could still be felt. News outlets shared stories of people inspired to forgive old enemies. Others decided to volunteer more, to help the poor, to visit the sick, to reach out to family members they hadn't spoken to in years. A quiet revival